What's going on, everyone? Golden Ticket to History coming to you today to do a brief reaction, an initial reaction to Halloween Ends. This is not going to include any spoilers, so if people haven't watched it yet, you don't have to worry about me spoiling any of the endings to it or any of the super climactic moments. But definitely will give at least a brief introduction into what my initial responses were the first time watching it. And they're mixed. If I had to give it a rating on a 10-point scale, I've been kind of going back and forth. I'm thinking somewhere around a 7.6, and that's being fairly generous, and that's because of a couple big iconic moments. One of the biggest moments, that's not too much of a spoiler because we've seen it in the previous editions as well, is the reemergence of Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode and Nick Castle reprising his role as The Shape, or Michael Myers, as well as a few other cameo appearances throughout the film. So there definitely is that good element of it. There definitely is an ending to the film, which I'm not going to disclose. There definitely has been plenty of websites that have broke it down and have disclosed what the ending is. I'm not going to do that yet. A couple weeks from now, I may do another video that breaks down the good, the bad, and the ugly, that dives deeper into why I gave it the score that I did. Initially, some of the things I did like about it, and this is not too much of a spoiler, because even on the official Wikipedia page, the official unofficial Wikipedia page, there is the brief, very frameworky plot that breaks down the idea that we do have the initial plot, which is Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, and then we also have a subplot, which is a secondary character, which we've seen happen before, with this new emergence of this character by the name of Corey, providing a side plot to the story, which we've seen happen before. We saw this with the ending of Halloween 4, where we saw Jamie, who was at the time Laurie Strode's daughter, where she kind of at the very end kind of took things her own way and stabbed her foster mother. We kind of saw that happen there. We've also seen this happen a few other times where we've seen a secondary character take on a primary role very similar to Michael Myers. So this isn't brand new. However, in some instances, it kind of took away a little bit from the film. Some of the initial emergence coming out is the fact that the presence of Michael Myers, The Shape, has been a primary focus of every single movie up to this point in time, except for Halloween 3, which has its own classification. We're talking about the Halloween franchises. It almost shouldn't even really necessarily be in the conversation, because even when they originally created Halloween 3, The Seasons of the Witch, the plans was to take and go a different direction and have different characters. So Michael Myers wasn't even supposed to be in that one. They realized very quickly that was a huge franchise mistake, and they needed to have Michael Myers, which they brought him back with the return of Michael Myers in Halloween 4 with a new whole subplot. And there's definitely some good elements to it, but there also were some bad elements to it that I kind of felt, kind of brought down the overall feel of the movie. It would have been great as a subplot, maybe if they would have added that in, a different element of the film, and maybe the goal was to use that as a secondary jump off to a separate side story, then that definitely could have been something that possibly, but the approach they took with it, kind of just a little, I don't know, it feels kind of like they forced it into the middle and it watered down too many other elements of it. But I'm not going to go into too much detail into that. Another thing I did like was there's plenty of moments where they pay homage to the original film. Even subtle things. They showed clips of the original 1978 film and the 2022 film. There was even some pieces that were in the first one that we also see in the second one. You're going to see in one of the clips that I show, there's a still image of the needle for needlework for quilting. And, many of you remember that from the original one, where Laurie Strode takes it and stabs it into the neck of Michael Myers. Well, that needle makes its emergence again, something that seems so subtle in the first one comes back again. I would have liked to have seen the coat hanger, though. That would have been nice to see come back again. But it didn't. So I like that. I like the fact there was definitely some elements. You know, there was a scene in the original one where Laurie Strode pushes back his mask, the Shapes mask, Michael Myers mask, and kind of has to, put the mask back on, get readjusted. We see this in the 2022 version, Halloween Ends. So it is nice to see that they did reuse those scenes again. So it was nice. But overall, there's definitely some things that was lacking, some things I would have liked to have seen that the film didn't have. So, I don't know. I have to let it ponder a little bit more. I'm going to try to watch it again. Maybe take in more elements of it. Watch it in its entirety. There's a couple of scenes where I kind of actually skipped forward 10 seconds or so. And I did that probably 10 times. So there's probably a good 5 or 6 minutes of the film that I kind of just skipped through because it was losing my attention. I was losing interest in some of the elements. There was too many slower parts. I did like the fact that, it was kind of a culmination. It was essentially, the fact that the grip that Michael Myers had on Laurie Strode was no longer the same grip that it had for the last 40 years. She was starting to see that she could live without it controlling every part of her life, which I did like. So yeah, so I did like the fact that there is a nice ending to one era, one saga of the film. I have a lot of questions. I was wondering, what the outcome was going to be coming into the film based off what I've read about previous other films, such as, for example, I know that I read that there was a contract clause, a contractual clause written into any production company that produced any movies involving Michael Myers and the Halloween franchise, was that if you produce one of the films, that you could not kill Michael Myers. And this is something that I saw, a couple different times. I haven't had a chance to dive too deep into the elements of it and the legitimacy of it, but I did see this, that there was a contractual obligation that you had to keep Michael Myers alive, which definitely raised some questions, coming into this film. Would they breach the contract? Did they find an ability to be able to vary from that? Does the fact that there was executive producers of being Jamie Lee Curtis and John Carpenter, the fact that both of these iconic figureheads within the Halloween franchise were directly connected to the film, did that provide another lens that they could kind of bridge or blend or maybe even somewhat blur the elements that are there? So I don't know. I don't want to give away too much about the film, but that's definitely something I had a lot of questions going into the film. This is something I was wondering about, is that would they be able to take and to end the saga as Halloween Ends states? Could they end it with Michael Myers dying? Would they end it with Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode's character dying? Would they kill it with both of them dying? Would they end it with both of them dying? There's so many questions that are left unanswered. I did like the fact that there was definitely some other elements to it. There was some dramatization. There's the fact of the relationships between Laurie Strode's granddaughter and this new character, Corey. I did like that. Sometimes I felt out of place. Sometimes I felt as if I forgot what movie I was watching. I felt as if I was watching just another thriller-type movie with a different character, different murderer. So definitely lost that element to it. Sometimes I forgot what I was watching. That also kind of helped with why I fast-forwarded through some sections, because it just felt very forced in some instances, that they were telling one story while also still trying to tell the original story of relations of Michael Myers. So I have a lot of questions, of the rationale behind that. Maybe now, since the movie's been published, maybe some of the thought process that came out of, doing this dual-layer plot structure would help a lot. But there's so many plot holes in the film, and this is something that most people have stated, the plot holes that exist in Halloween Ends, where there's so many different questions, so many different concerns, so many stories that were started and ended abruptly in some cases, with not much fleshing out that was done. So that's part of the issue. Some of the grayness of the film was definitely an issue. But, I did like, there's definitely some really good kill scenes. So once you have a chance to watch the film, you'll be able to see some of these really cool kill scenes That definitely was nice. A couple moments where you kind of got excited in the sense of what the actions that were happening. You know, you saw something negative happen to one individual in the film, and you see a positive reaction. So, you know, in some cases it wasn't all negative. So there definitely was that element to the film. Which then raises the next question is, what's next? You know, have we seen Michael Myers' character disappear in the films before? Absolutely. With every film finding out another way of how he escaped death. We saw this at Halloween H2O, where he strangled the EMT, ruptured his vocal cords, and then placed him in his jumpsuit, and he was the one that was decapitated. That we saw this when he was gunned down in Halloween 4, where he fell into the river and was washed away, and that's how he survived. So many different avenues. You know, we saw Laurie Strode's character died multiple times. We saw that when they claimed that she died in a car accident in Halloween 4, which still boggles the mind. Why would you kill your most iconic character and then make a subplot through her daughter, which then disappears after Halloween 6? And then you would then disconnect the entire connection from the family perspective. You know, there's just so many different plots, structures carried out in this film. In this franchise, there's just so many different stories being told that kind of left you always wondering what was going on. Laurie Strode having 3 different children, to her only having 1 child, and the reboot in 2018, 2021, and 2022 with Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What are your thoughts? You know, have you seen the film yet? What was your initial reaction? Let's try to keep spoilers to a minimum, at least for the next week or so. And once we get into next week, I'm going to do another video that breaks down the good, bad, and ugly elements of the film, including spoilers, because if you haven't watched the film by next week, you probably won't, or you're waiting for a spoiler. So as always, you know, I watched it through Peacock, through a streaming service. You know, I didn't. It might have been better watching it at the movie theater, but at the time I didn't have a chance to go out to the movie theater to watch it. And plus, you know, it was just from a convenience perspective, being able to watch it at home in my leisure. You know, when I wanted to watch it, being able to change, you know, fast forward, pause, rewind, as needed. I'm gonna watch it again, and then next week I'm gonna post another video that breaks down the good, bad, and ugly sides of it. So, you know, if you haven't watched it yet by next week, and you see a third video covering Halloween, just know that there's going to be some spoilers in that one. As always, you can look for the history and film. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. Let me know if you like these, you know, these review type videos. I may do some more. You know, maybe if you don't like them on this channel, but you'd like to see them on another channel. I do have some other avenues I'm thinking about doing and creating maybe a second or third channel to dive into some of the areas that may not necessarily fit the realm and the genre of this channel, but definitely carry some level of merit. For example, film reviews. There's a lot of movies I want to review, but they may take up too much time and space and maybe deter too far away from the purpose of this channel. So let me know down in the comments below if that's something you're interested in, if you're still listening along. As always, continue looking at history and film. Have a great weekend, everyone. Catch you guys in the next vlog. Watch our Halloween Ends if you haven't watched it yet. See you guys next time.